So he was able to
Oh,
identify
wow.
and make a training correction for him, right? And for us. And again, at the end of the day, it's real simple. I want a happy customer.
You want a customer that's going to turn around and tell their neighbor, tell their friend. I mean, we work in referral type businesses,
Yeah.
and so the bottom line is you want to make the consumer happy and provide them with what they're looking for.
Yeah.
All right, welcome to another episode of The Den, brought to you by the Knox Fox Real Estate Group. I'm Eric Whitener, broker owner of the Knox Fox Real Estate Group, and today my special guest is none other than Scott Brockamp, co-owner of His Security and Technology, a locally owned business here in Farragut that provides, customized security systems and smart technology solutions for home and business. That's a mouthful.
It is.
Good morning.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you. Man, first of all, before we jump into this, just for anybody, I want to just say this for anybody who's listening. This is going to be a great show, but I would just take a second. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and give it a thumbs up or give us a comment that you're there watching it. Let us know you're there. Show us some love. If you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple Music, man, leave us a review. We would love to hear from you. Scott, so your motto is "In God We Trust, all others we monitor."
Yeah.
First of all, I love that motto. It's catchy.
It is.
It's witty. Tell me a little bit about His Security and how your motto and everything ties in together.
Well, it's been a long journey, Eric. A little over 14 years ago, myself and my business partner, we worked for a different company. And the individual who owned the company, he didn't really care much about rules and laws and ethics. He cared about money. And the writing was really kind of on the wall. So Doug and I, my business partner, we were on a long trip to Lexington, Kentucky, and meeting with local authorities to try to clean up a little mess that the owner of that company created.
Oh wow!
And man, I really had been praying and really just trying to digest where I was at and where I was going in life. And I decided I'm gonna go start my own business. And so I told Doug on that trip, I said, man, I'm letting you know I'm leaving the company and I'm gonna go start my own business. And he's like, well, I'm gonna go with you. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna drag you into my mess. This is I'm not sure this is going to work, but I got to do something. And so a couple weeks later, we were on that journey again. And I will tell you, we did get the mess cleaned up.
Good.
But we were on that way, and he said, man, I've been praying about it. I've been talking to my wife, and I want to do this with you. And it's like I told him, I said, neither one of us got two nickels to rub together to make this happen, but we'll find a way. So we were on our way back from Lexington and decided we needed to have a name for our company. And we said, no matter what, if this is going to work, it's going to have to be his. We're just going to have faith that we're going to do the right thing. It's going to work out. So we drove 2 hours and tried to have a cute acronym for HIS. And by the time we got back to Knoxville, we kind of looked at each other and chuckled and said, I guess we're going to call it his. and that's where we started.
I like it. I mean, that's grassroots right there. It
is.
That's awesome. So how long have you guys been in business now?
We are in our 14th year.
Nice.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. It's been 14 years.
And how long of that? I mean, your office is literally just down the street from where we're at right now. How long have you been in the Farragut area?
We have been here just about 10 years. Again, another one that's hard to believe.
Right. Time flies when you're having fun.
It flies. It definitely does. So, and luckily, we're in a great spot, as you mentioned, just right down the street from you here in Farragut, right on Kingston Pike. With the revitalization that's going on here in Farragut, it's putting us in that new outlook of that town square, town center area, which is amazing. and my landlord, we've got a really good relationship, and so whenever there's an opportunity for us to kind of grow, he lets me know. So we've been able to expand our footprint as well without really shaking up our company. So we've been able to stay where we're at, which is key for us.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So just out of curiosity, between you and Doug, who came up with the motto?
Actually, neither one of us.
Oh, really?
We went to get our first insurance policy to turn our information into the state, and our insurance agent just rattled it off. He's like, "In God we trust, all those who monitor." I'm looking at him. I'm like, "How did you just spit that out?" And he's like, "Yeah, you can use that." So I'm like, all right, I
Done.
will. So I did some research on it, and so we've asked. There is actually a trademark on that. Believe it or not, somehow it got passed, but it's used by our military. It's used by so many organizations that we asked for a like use of using it from the actual people. The organization has that trademark on it.
Oh, that's cool.
So, but it applies to so many things, and for us, it really just centers around who we are as a business. And one of the things I tell people all the time is we're different. We don't run our business based on a spreadsheet and profit and loss and everything else. Yes, we've got to be able to take care of our employees and be profitable. But at the end of the day, our mission and our statement to our employees is real simple. We're going to do what's right and know that God's going to take care of us. And that's how we run our business.
I like it. I like it. Um, so his security, you offer two types of services.
Oh,
Re-
a lot.
well, residential and commercial.
Yeah.
But within those, there's a lot of different things. So obviously, when I just say security, I mean people think I like alarms, but
Yeah.
you guys offer way more than just that. Go ahead and so if I'm buying a house, I'm new to the area. Maybe I'm coming from an area that wouldn't dare to live in a house without an alarm system. I know there's a lot of people here that maybe don't have them. I know I've got one. I've got one of yours.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, here at the office and at the house. But I got mine for various reasons. So if I was buying a house and I was, curious or wanted to look into it, what kind of services would you be able to offer?
So, we're a great asset for anybody who's moving into a new home. Just because of the plethora of services we offer. Obviously, the alarm system. And alarm systems have changed. Alarm system used to be that little device that would make the siren go off and call and notify the monitoring station to call the police. Well, now with all the integrations in smart devices that we have, it can actually be the hub and the control of all your convenience and automation as well as the security. So we offer security. Obviously, cameras is a huge offering right now. Everybody is interested in cameras, and they come and boy, you talk about variety. There's more variety of cameras than I think anything in the world today. But we also offer a lot of other services. We are a Sonos dealer, so we can help you with your audio systems. We're a premium mantle mount dealer, which is a specialty mount that's a really cool mount for a TV that goes above those high hearth fireplaces that pulls down. But we do TV mounting. We do wiring. We really can handle most anything to help you when you move in. Networking. So a lot of times you move in, you get internet, and whatever your provider is, they come in, they drop that wireless modem wherever it's at, and the rest of the house has horrible Wi-Fi. Well, we have solutions to help with that as well. So that's kind of a good scratch to the surface.
Yeah. So there's way more than just security there.
Way more.
I know on the let's talk a little bit. No, number one, most insurance carriers will still give a discount for having a monitor service.
Yeah.
So on that monitor service, I know there are some competitors in the space that
Sure.
they offer stuff. But one of the big differences, if I'm not mistaken, between you and them is you guys are no long-term contracts, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
So like I could sign up. you guys basically take care of all that. But if for some reason I'm in a pinch or I need to sell, I know sometimes when it comes to selling a house, people are in these contracts.
Mm-hmm.
They have to basically buy it out,
Yes.
which is pretty unfortunate. Nobody wants to pay for something they didn't get to use.
Right.
Excuse me. So, you know, but beyond that, the ability to do smart home stuff. Like, one of my favorite features. I have a tube, and I don't utilize near the stuff that you guys offer. Like,
Right.
but two of the features the ability to remote open your garage door from anywhere, and the ability to lock and unlock your doors from anywhere. Um, we can change our heat and air temperature. All that's cool, but to be able to, hey, if somebody wanted to come by, they're like, hey, I'd like to swing by and pick up this box from you. Great. Well, I don't want to leave it outside,
Right.
so I could leave it in the garage, and then say, hey, just call or text me when you get there. I'll open the garage. You open it. They grab their stuff. You shut it. Like easy breezy. Like just that to me is a very cool, convenient feature instead of having to run to the house,
Yeah.
and go do that. But you guys also like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can set up like smart lights and way more stuff. Well, what are some of the possibilities with all that?
So I want to kind of jump back to the insurance thing real quick.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I've told everybody for years, look, all insurance companies are different. Some insurance companies, they just ask, do you have an alarm system? Yes or no. And is it monitored? Yes or no. I tell all of my clients, you gotta kind of work that insurance agent with some of the features and benefits that you have. So if you have monitored fire protection, that should be an extra check mark on that box with that insurance company. Do you have remote services, right? Everybody now has an app. So if anything's happening at my home, I'm getting advanced notification. I'm aware of what's happening. That again, that should be a benefit. That is because that's helping mitigate damages or future potential claims with the insurance company. And then video. If you've got video, if there's we see it all the time in commercial, right? Video a lot of times in commercial is to protect the actual business from potential, a slip and fall or a potential liability that may come about. And the same thing is true in your home. So making sure you have a detailed conversation with your insurance agent about it, that's important. I will say this, we're just, y'all, there's a saying in the mortgage world, right? Truth in lending, right?
Yes.
Well, we believe in truth in our lives and in what we do in our industry. There's some companies that would tout that you'll get 20% discount on your homeowner's insurance. So it's not accurate. You can get maybe up to 20% on a section of your homeowner's insurance, right? So it's not that discount is, and it can be depending on what the value of your property is, right? That discount's going to range. So it's been used as a selling tool in our industry. I'm not a big fan of it because to me it's kind of gimmicky. It's not really being transparent and honest. So
Well, you're trying to use value from something you don't control
correct.
to sell something that you do.
That's right.
So yeah, you're more focused on what the consumer needs, not how to sell them something maybe they
Absolutely.
don't.
Absolutely.
I like that.
So, but when you talk about those products and services and what we have to offer, we use a back end service called alarm.com. They are the world's number one provider of this back end service. They are the creators of the app. But the cool thing is they started as a data company in 1999. It's all they did. They were just a data mining company. And so they have a data focused backside and then they encompass that with security. So a couple of cool things that occur from that, in my opinion, is we're utilizing all the data necessary, yet we're keeping it under a security first focus. And so when we talk about the automations and all the things that we can do, when we talk about lights, we talk about cameras, thermostats, all of the neat things, it's data. So if I have a security system and I open, say, the front door, Well, I can now take that data and say that triggered an action, and if this then that type of statement, now it's going to trigger to turn on a smart light that's tied into the ecosystem, or if that door's left open, adjust the thermostat, or maybe just simply send me a notification that the door's been left open. I use my house as an example all the time. I love our products and service. I'm not just a provider, I'm a user.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you what, we use our security system, but we use the convenience more than anything. And my house, you walk up to the front door, if it's after dark, my camera through analytics identifies if it's a person. My camera is going to then send the command to turn my front porch light on automatically. So now nobody's walking up to my door dark. I can see, so it provides me some protection. It also provides some convenience. As you know, I've got two beautiful daughters, and my oldest one, she's 14 now. So she may go up the street, or she may get dropped off. Somebody, we may not be home.
Yeah.
As you mentioned with the door lock, she can punch her code in the door lock. It'll unlock the door. It'll automatically disarm the alarm. I can even tell it to turn on some lights for her when she comes in. So, when we talk about what we do in the convenience and automation, literally, you could probably do 10 episodes on different components of how that is and what it works. But when I talk to our clients, one of the things I always make sure that they know is that number one, we're security first, right? We want to make sure that all this data is protected as well as you and your home. So it's a security first platform. But the other thing is, I feel like we're somewhat unique in is we're not hey, if you do it today, we're gonna give you all this stuff. We're not. It's the price of the product is the price of the product. So whether you do it today or you do it tomorrow, you move into a new house, you have no idea if you want to automate lights, and if you do, which ones they are. You're going to have to live there for a little bit. So we want to be conducive. We want to come along. We want to partner with our clients. We want to be a source of value and information to be able to be helpful.
Well, you did exactly that with Terry Joe and I.
Yeah.
When we set up on the house we're currently in, and to be honest with you, we haven't added any other features yet. We have, like I said, the ability to open the garage door and change the heat and air, and open and the lights. But those we use those functions all the time. Now the lights would probably be cool. I'm not gonna lie, it'd probably be cool. I've just never had that,
Yeah.
so I don't even know what I'm missing. Um, Now here at the office, you guys did what you would call more of a commercial service,
Yeah.
and way beyond just our security system. Um, you did the security system, and you gave us the same sort of the ability to open and or lock and unlock the doors, and we have keypads and all that, which really helped me out as a business owner from before. When we had our last office, I had to give every agent, every employee a key.
Yeah.
And you don't realize what a pain that is. Either A, somebody loses their key, B, they leave, and now you got to either hunt down that key, or, you don't want to change locks every time
No.
somebody decides not to come back. And this makes it so much easier, where now I just go in the computer and I'm like, delete, and that person can't open the door. And for the same thing, if someone forgets to lock the door, before, had no idea. You wouldn't know till the next morning. You'd walk up and like, dang, who was the last person here? Well, now not only do I know who the last person was, but I can lock that door from anywhere.
Right.
Um,
And be notified if the office closes at 7 and it hasn't been locked by 7:30, you get a notification.
well, and I'll tell you, I get that notification a lot. And I'm normally still here.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, small business owner life. But you guys also, you wired this office.
Yeah.
Tell anybody who's listening that maybe needs, because you could do the same thing. You do the same thing for homes.
Yeah.
But Can you speak on that a little bit?
Sure. So, infrastructure wiring, and as we call it, structured cabling is, I mean, it's essential, right? We hear all the time, and I hear it all the time, but everything's wireless, right? Listen, your wireless is only as good as your wired infrastructure. It's just that simple. We're making this transition to 5G. Well, guess what? All those 5G transponders are wired.
Yeah.
Okay. It's no different in your house. So you have needs that you had as a business here when you moved into this office. You've got IP phone systems that the benefit of those being wired versus wireless, I mean, it's night and day. You are able to increase speeds, you're able to decrease latency, you're able to eliminate some of the issues of interference that you run into with Wi Fi. So, and it was quite challenging here in your office, but I'm grateful to say we were able to do it. I don't think we had any major damages anywhere.
I don't think so. I don't think
Uh,
so. Well,
but with what you guys are doing, obviously you're dealing with some important information. It needs to be on a secure network, and so we're able to make sure that infrastructure was wired and in place so that you can hardwire your computers, you can hardwire those phones, and we run into the same thing, whether it's a business or whether it's a home. Making sure you have the ability to have a good infrastructure in place is key. We do a lot of new construction, so that's one of the things we work with a lot of builders, and we're wiring the house when it's built, making sure you've got. We still use coax because there's still cable companies that would rather put a wired box in than a wireless one because it cuts down on their service costs.
yeah.
But we're still wiring. We're wiring for TV. We're wiring for data connections. We're wiring for possible future expansions. I tell everybody the same thing. If you think you might ever kind of possibly gonna have this, put a piece of wire there now because it's cheap when you're building a house, right? So, and just like with you guys, we left some additional spare cabling that's just sitting up there in the attic. So if we need to add something later, we have the ability to come in and do it without basically starting all over again.
So there's a few things on there I'd like to talk about. One, I'll just talk about the new construction part. So there's a lot of people who want to build their own house, and there are so when you're building a custom home, I think there's so many things to think about. The one thing that and I'm guilty to this. I mean, because we built a house recently. On the first house, we did not think of this, and on the second, after that, we had the conversation. But you want to think about wiring your house for all your stuff, like your alarm system, where you're going to have your TV, all that stuff. You want to do that on the front end instead of trying to go back and basically try to fit that in your house after the
Yeah.
fact. It's much easier when the drywall's not up.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just something that I don't think is thought about because again, we don't in today's world we don't see it. We walk around with our phones, our TVs are hanging on the wall. We don't see the wires, we don't see the stuff, and yes, Wi-Fi is great until it's not.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest things I think with this office. Our last office was so small that Wi-Fi was. I mean, the whole office was wireless. But here, I didn't want to have those issues,
Right.
and just like there are some things that shouldn't cause a problem, right? When we're dealing, I say this a lot about our title company. We use a really good title company. What I like about the title company is they're never the problem, right?
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be. That's the part of the transaction
Right.
that shouldn't be the problem, right? So if you've ever done a deal with a title company that's not on the ball, and you're like, why am I here? I am at the 3 days before closing. You don't have this, or this, right? Well, so that's the same thing I think with like internet. Like I pay for good speed. Like Wi-Fi shouldn't be the problem.
Right.
Like there shouldn't be something slowing me down in the process. And so we did have a day not that long ago where all of a sudden I'm getting a text message from Terry Joe going,
Yeah.
our internet's like hardly running, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like we've got super fast speed, fastest speed we've ever had, and she's like, it's just, and she was so aggravated because she was on a time crunch, and we don't have time for things not to work,
Yeah.
you know. And I was at that time, I'm like 45 minutes away, and I said, hey, call Scott.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, it wasn't the computer, wasn't the anything to do with what was in house. It had to do with the fact that TDS was completely down
Yep.
for a large chunk of our area.
Yeah.
So there was nothing that could be done,
No.
anyways. So you don't realize. I think at this point we're spoiled. Even Drew likes to come to the office because he can upload and download videos way faster here than he can at the house. So it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So I do want to point out about how spoiled you really are, right? Because Terry Joe called me,
yes,
and obviously, not a whole lot I can do. But and this is one thing I think is important. We we think it's essential and important to have friends in our industry.
yes,
Okay, so I told Terry Joe, I said, listen, let me check a couple of things. Let me call you right back. And I called an individual that I know at TDS because I know that's the service you have. Well, first I did is I went and I checked my office, and my office was down. So I knew the problem was beyond your office.
yeah,
I made that phone call and found out they're down. So I was able to relay the information back to Terry Joe. Um, I make it a point. We when we wire a house, we pull a fiber link to the outside of the house because everybody's trying to do fiber. And you move in a new house, the last thing you want is that telco company coming in and drilling a hole through the side of your brand new house, right? It happens every single day. And we want to try to prevent that. But a lot of times we'll get a call. In fact, I'm dealing with one right now that the customer said that the technician from the telco company said that fiber is broken, and so now they can't install their internet. And I'm like, if you didn't have that fiber, would they still install your internet? Yeah. So sounds like somebody was trying to make it easy for the day, right? Well, I've made it a point to get to know the supervisors for a couple of these local telcos so that I can make a call and say, hey, can you look at this address? And one of the guys he was able to identify that 80% of those were on one technician. So he was able to
oh
identify
wow,
and make a training correction for him, right? And for us. And again, at the end of the day, it's real simple. I want a happy customer, period. I
right.
want a happy customer. So,
You want a customer that's going to turn around and tell their neighbor, tell their friend. I mean, we work in referral type businesses,
yeah,
and so the bottom line is you want to make the consumer happy, and provide them with what they're looking for.
yeah.
And I'll definitely say we are spoiled. I know this. Um,
That's all
so
right. All of our customers are spoiled, Eric. That's what we like to do.
so where do you see some things headed in your industry? Like, what's some of the hot items coming out?
So, really, the biggest thing that's coming out is remote video monitoring. We are able now to use the analytics from cameras to be able to actually have emergency response. So now what's happening is that camera is now tied into the central station and they're able to see that video in the event of things that happen. So it's taking our level of protection from not just a monitoring point of view or a retroactive response from externally from those cameras, because typically that's what would happen, right? Something happened last night. Now I'm going to go back and look at the recording on my cameras to figure it out. Well, now that something happened last night, it now triggers an alarm into the central station. They're looking at live video, and now they're calling and they're dispatching the appropriate authorities based on that activity, based on the rules set up around it. Um, we're seeing a lot of states that have already enforced a no response without verification. And it's coming. Again, this is probably a whole podcast in its own, but with the proliferation of the do-it-yourself network, here's the thing. We, as an alarm industry, and we're huge proponents of being a part of our industry, we have worked for years and worked very hard through technology to cut down and decrease false alarms. That's our goal. Our goal is no false alarms.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, it's
so
highly inconvenient
it is
for not only the consumer but also for the security,
all the
the
way,
police officers, the fire department, everybody.
all the way down the line, right? And so we have worked so hard to eliminate and decrease false alarms, and our industries have done an amazing job with that. But now here we have all the DIY, right? So in order for me to install an alarm system in your house, Eric, I have to have what's called a designated qualifying agent for my office, which is like in your world a broker.
Yes, that would be
Somebody who has gone through the educational process, who has passed the test at the state, and the state has deemed necessary to be able to be qualified to do this job. At that point, now I have to have a technician who has to go through what's called a level one installation certification, has to be registered with the state of Tennessee. That's what I have to do as a business to install an alarm in your house. But as you know, you can go online or call up a long list of any company who will ship you the products in the box, and now you get to install them yourself. So I'm not saying what we do is rocket science, but there are some very simple things that we do as an industry that alleviate false alarms, like knowing where to locate a motion detector, knowing where to place devices. There is a level and a process of best practices that we have in our industry that we learn from training. We are a skilled trade. So when you take a skilled trade and then you start giving it to the masses to go do it themselves without the training, now our false alarm rates have gone absolutely insane
really.
because of a lot of these do-it-yourself installations. Again, I'm not saying that what we do is crazy rocket science, right? We've moved into the ability to use wireless. It's not too difficult to do some of the basic installation, but the understanding and setup of putting devices in the right place is huge.
Well, yeah. So I know, like, when you set up our house, like we've always had a dog.
Yeah.
When setting up the motion detectors and everything, and then setting the sensitivity and all of that, like I want to be able to leave my dog at home and set my alarm, and my dog not set my alarm off.
Yeah.
You address that right at the installation. Like you said, oh hey, so we're gonna go ahead and do it this way, and that way it won't won't happen.
Right.
But I could see, as a do-it-yourselfer, not even thinking about that.
Right.
Right. It's not so much what you can do; it's what you don't know.
Right.
Right. And it's the same thing in my industry. Like, anybody can go buy and sell a house on their own. They don't have to have an agent. Right. But the thing is by using an agent comes a lot of knowledge, protections, and services that you don't even think of when
Right.
going through the process. And so I could 100% see it here at the office when we were doing stuff with the doors. You said, hey, with these doors, you're probably going to have these issues. Sure enough, we had these, like, that experience, you were able to call it out from the get-go, so at least it wasn't a surprise. I mean, I've already had to have the doors adjusted at least once since we've been in here. So that wasn't a shock to me when it happened.
Right.
Because you called it.
Right.
And so that's the kind of stuff that I think is, what's the point of putting a security system in your house if it's not going to do the full job?
Right.
Or, heaven forbid, I'd have to assume if you're in the Farragut area and you set off an alarm and they run rural metro out, I mean, because you're getting a bill.
Yes, you are.
If you're not a subscriber,
Yeah.
you could be getting a bill for several $1,000s.
Right.
Like, you didn't save any money at that point.
No.
I mean, at all. It's cost you.
And it's weird how, like, myself, everywhere I've lived, I grew up, we didn't have subscription fire service. So and that's one of the things that is a little unique about our area. And it's not really unique, it's happening all across the country, but there's so many people that move here. We have a lot of folks that move from the Midwest. I originally grew up in the Midwest. We didn't have subscription fire service, so they move here and they're not aware that they need to subscribe because it's covered in their taxes in most areas.
Right.
Well, the reason some of our taxes are so low, well, one of it is because it doesn't provide any benefit, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing including in it. So, but that subscription service is cheap. But at the end of the day, I've asked insurance agents because I've had one who told me that, yep, there was a claim that was denied because they didn't subscribe to service. Because if you don't have fire service, when Rural Metro shows up, they're coming to protect your neighbors who do have fire subscription service, and they're going to watch your house burn. Meanwhile, they're going to protect the ones who have subscription service.
And you still get charged for them.
And you're getting charged for every truck that's there and every man that's there and every hour that they're there. So there's a lot that goes into it. But again, just like with insurance, right? You're going to have to mitigate as much liability as possible. I mean, I'm just gonna a perfect example. In my house, my mother-in-law lives with us. She has her own car insurance. I had an umbrella policy that to cover on top of our regular insurance for my house, and they actually came back and told me that they were canceling the policy because her car insurance policy didn't have enough coverage. Okay? So if they're going to be that ticky tacky over a very small umbrella policy, literally cost me $70 a year.
Yeah.
Okay? What are they going to do when you have a fire and they find out that you could have mitigated damage, but instead of signing up for subscription service, you didn't? So there's a lot to unpack that goes into that. But the biggest thing is, and people tell me, because I get customers when it happens and they want us to pay the bill. And I'm sorry, but I'm not paying that bill. And we make it a point to have the conversation with our clients about Rural Metro. I do know I've got a good relationship with the folks at Rural Metro, and they are vigilant about making contact with you. So there is no real excuse why you wouldn't do it.
No, if you live in a rural metro area, I mean, I know I get an invoice,
Yeah.
and I think just a lot of people don't know what it is. I also want to, not that I think like say City of Knoxville Fire Department's not good. I 100% I think they're great, good people. I will say though, I think for being in the county, I think we have great equipment, and well trained individuals because we're subscription based that we may not have had, if we were a volunteer fire department, right?
Right, yeah.
I mean that would be problematic. So it's definitely something to look into. But back to the like mistakes some people make, if you're doing your own stuff and you don't know how to set up your system, you could be inviting, Rural Metro to show up at your door, and with that would come a healthy bill if you weren't a subscription member. If you are a subscription member, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like
That's right. They'll come as many times as you want.
Yeah,
That's right.
So yeah, so pretty. What other things are there anything else that you see maybe homeowners make? I'm assuming there's those situations where you may come and have to like kind of fix what somebody else has done, or maybe there's do you see people say, well, I don't want that or need that, when you're like, well, I mean, here's the benefit. Like there is,
Yeah.
you do, what kind of stuff do you see?
Well, so fire protection is one of them. Okay, that's right now. We're huge about life safety. It's essential, right? There's a reason why code requires to have all these smoke detectors in your house. But I can't tell you how many times we go into a house and you see there's a blank plate on the ceiling, an electrical plug hanging out the hole, and there's no smoke detector because it was beeping and they couldn't figure it out. And, you know, the list goes on and on. Fire protection is essential, right? Early notification, that's key. Through a lot of our systems, if you have a smart thermostat and you have fire protection, that fire alarm goes off, it can then shut the thermostat down so you're not circulating and ventilating throughout the house, which is the biggest cause and spread of that fire. So fire protection, carbon monoxide detection, those are also, you know, big factors that I see. But again, video, just having the awareness of what's going on the property, even when you are there or not there, having that awareness is always key, always a big one. Um, but
How long are smoke detectors good for?
well, it depends.
It depends. Okay.
At the end of the day, the general rule of thumb, 10-year. You got a 10-year lifespan. So if it's 10 years old, it needs to go into garbage.
So I let's say I put one in. I put the battery in. I don't have to mess with it for 10 years.
You need to change that battery.
Oh,
So it's one of the things, right? We hear people, and now they're coming out with long life batteries. They're selling some products now at the big box locations that boast a 10-year battery. So it's good for the whole lifespan of the device. But you know, we hear these campaigns about replace those backup batteries once a year, but we never hear a campaign about what's the date on your smoke, replace the smoke. I mean, what's the point of having a good battery in a smoke detector that's past its lifespan?
yeah,
So,
totally.
you know, and I will tell you, I want to share this stupid bit of knowledge.
Okay.
Okay. Because everybody, we get this question a lot. Why is it that those batteries and that chirping always starts in the middle of the night? Right? So we're surrounded by electromagnetic energy. Okay. It's just there. It exists. It's prevalent. And so, but what happens is there is a meter inside that device that is measuring the voltage of that battery in that device. And so as night changes, the barometric pressure changes, and therefore the electromagnetic energy changes, the force changes, which is why that typically happens in the middle of the night, because it's through that barometric pressure change that now that voltage drops. The level may be 3.99 and you were at 4, and then that pressure change, now you drop to 3.99 and now it's chirping at you.
So there's science behind the reason.
There is science behind it. There's science why it always happens in the middle of the night.
That so there is nothing more annoying than the chirping sound. I know. Last year, Terry Joe and I stayed in an Airbnb in Orlando, and it sure enough, like that chirp, and that condo had like, I don't know, 5, and even the guy who came to fix it, he had to replace batteries in all of them until he found the one.
Yeah.
But it was just like you just wanted to leave, you know, like it was like so annoying. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know there was true science before. I thought it was just bad luck.
Yeah. No, there's some good useless information for
It's
you.
a good barometric pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how you became the host of Around the House on News Talk 98.7. Specifically from 7 to 9 on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, unlike your podcast, mine goes live on Saturday mornings when nobody's really awake, anyways. But, you know, the history of that show is really cool. It was founded by Dave Falk, who is no longer with us, very well known radio host from the News Talk conglomerate of stations there. And the show had been on air it's been on over 20 years now. We're on like 21, 22 years. And the previous host that many people know, Dawn Steimer, she hosted that show for, I think, close to 10 years, maybe even longer. I don't recall at the moment. But, you know, I kind of got to this point where whenever somebody was a last minute cancel, I was the name on the list that they'd call to fill in. And as most people know, I have no problem talking. And I can talk about whatever, you know. And so, it kind of became a little bit of a joke, but I was the standard fill-in guy, right? Whenever nobody would make it, and it transitions into there. And Don's like, I really need somebody to kind of cover when I need to take a vacation or when I'm not here. And so then it turned into I would kind of co-host, or sometimes I would be a guest host. And so when Dawn came to the point that she was ready to retire, she called and she said, "I've got a question for you." I'm like, "Oh boy, for some reason I always end up saying yes to Dawn, anyways." And she said, I don't want anybody really know this yet, but I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna give up the radio show." And she said, "I have been praying about this and I've been thinking about this for a long time." And she said, "Honestly, there is nobody else that I would even consider asking to take over other than you." And I was obviously I was very honored, honored that she would ask. But then I had to kind of dive in here. Um, I'm a girl dad.
Yeah.
I have both of my kids play softball. They're both active, and I'm active with them. I coach softball, and that's it every Saturday morning commitment.
Early Saturday morning.
Early Saturday morning.
Regardless of how late you stay up on Friday doing whatever, yes,
Got to be there.
because it starts when it starts.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and then I received a call from Jack Lee, who at the time was the general manager at Cumulus, and he wanted to kind of know where I was at with it, and I was kind of not real sure. He made a comment to me that really eventually sealed the deal, and he said that well, if I wasn't going to take it over, then he said, I guess we'll just put another syndicated show on in the mornings and it won't be a big deal. And that kind of got me because I've seen so many small businesses, local small businesses, who have didn't know where to turn or how to start or what to do, go and spend some time on Dawn's show. She was always trying to get new young businesses, local businesses, to be on the show. Obviously, it's a service-driven show. I've kind of moved it a little from there, but when I started thinking about it, I was like, I can't see the show go away. I just can't. And so this is my part right now, and how long that will last, I don't know. But it's my part right now.
Well, cool. That's cool. I've had the pleasure of being a guest, I think, twice on your show, which I'll tell you is way more intimidating than I think sitting here at this table when you're putting the headset on and you're going live on air. But it is a lot of fun and is a cool opportunity. And there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people who like to sleep in on Saturdays, but there are a lot of people who are up and at them.
There really are.
And so I know that show's got a good following, and I'm glad you keep it going. You make a great host.
Oh,
and I'm honored to have you on the show, being that you have your own.
Yeah, you can find us along with yours on all those favorite podcast platforms. So you just
check out Around the House on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Around the House with Scott Brockamp is the easiest way to find it.
Awesome. So you don't have to listen to it on Saturday morning from 7 to 9. You can stream it later.
That's right.
All right. So I want to dive into a couple other things because you are a busy man, and you got us involved in something, and that's the Lady Vols Booster Club.
I was gonna say you might have to be a little more specific.
Yeah. So the Lady Vols Booster Club, what are your current things, and then I think we're gonna dip back to Real Men Wear Pink, but let's talk about Booster Club. Well, for someone, we're corporate sponsors, but that was you kind of opened the door for that. But I think it's better for you to tell people what that is and why you're a part of it. And
absolutely, love to. So as I mentioned, I'm a girl dad, right? And and I'm a sports fan. A lot of it was kind of led to charge. My youngest daughter, she loves playing sports. Doesn't matter what it is, she wants to play it. And my oldest daughter is getting her feel into some sports as well. So through that, a part of our encouragement to our kids was we would go to Lady Vol games. We'd go to Lady Vol basketball, Lady Vol softball. Huge softball fans, big softball family as we are, and so I kept seeing things about this Lady Vol Boost Her Club, and I, I I just felt inclined to inquire. I finally inquired, and I met Terry Holder. And Terry is a very unique person in herself, but she knew Pat Summit, knew Pat well. Terry was the founder of Orange Mountain Design, which was the official licensed Lady Vol gear. And that was, she was kind of speared on by Pat to do that. And so I sat down and I had a conversation. My wife and I sat down with her, and just hearing her passion, really, it's hard not to want to be involved. And but the biggest thing is the disparity in sports for men versus women is just, it's stupid. It's just stupid. And so um, the Lady Vol Booster Club was the first NIL collective for female sports only. And that's all it did. So, we hear about the volunteer club and we hear about all these things. NIL is, listen, it's here and it's not going to go away.
Right. No matter what you think about it.
I don't care what your opinion is. If your opinion is you hate it, then you've been blind to what's been happening in college sports for eternity, anyways. Yeah. My wife will tell you the story. She went to Mississippi State University, and every basketball player was driving a brand new Escalade. But yet you couldn't give them things, right? So yeah. This is not new. It's just now a legal format to be able to make sure to try to level the playing field for all. So at the end of the day, when you look at it, look at our Lady Vol basketball team. They have more players than scholarships, right? Right now, everybody loves Edie Darby. Edie Darby is paying her own way. She is not getting a scholarship from from University of Tennessee. Huh. She's paying her own way. She's getting nothing, right? And she's investing all of her time and energy into this college sport for our enjoyment and entertainment. Meanwhile, she can't go have a job. Like when I went to college, I worked.
Yeah.
She can't go have a job. She don't have time for that.
Not enough time in the day.
None. Okay. So, and then you look at our Lady Vol softball team. Same thing. We've got a roster of 21, and I think we have 14 scholarships.
Yep.
Okay. Look at that. 14 scholarships for 21 players. So that means that 7 of those players are funding out of pocket. Okay. A lot of people say, well, they get a scholarship. They shouldn't have to get anything else. Well, I don't know if you went to college or not, but if you went to college, it's not cheap. I went to junior college, even a junior college, right? There, books, meals, just, I mean, it's astronomically insane. And so what the Lady Vol Booster Club has chosen to do is to work with all of our Lady Vols. They're very unique in the fact that they support NIL for all 8 Lady Vol sports here in the University of Tennessee, which is super cool. And, I'm like, how can I not get behind this? How can I not support it? I mean, I'm working just like when we talk about Real Men Wear Pink. I'm doing what I can today to help my kids tomorrow. I don't know that my kids will ever go and play collegiate athletics, but if they do, I want them to have every opportunity.
It's awesome. That's awesome. One of the things I have to say too is like these ladies, they show up. They show up when they're needed. I know you've helped put together big CBFO softball camp, and a bunch of these young ladies showed up. They signed autographs, autographed all sorts of stuff for the girls. They got out there on the field and participated, kind of coached them and stuff, did drills. They showed up, and it was really awesome seeing the younger kids looking up to,
Yeah.
their stars in their eyes. They're like, oh man, one day I want to be like that, or one day I could be like that.
Right.
And so they show up. They show up to other events and are a very good representation of what it is to be a college athlete.
Yeah.
So it's very impressive. I have a lot of appreciation from the program from the standpoint of, there is only 24 hours in a day. You want these students to get a college education, and you also want them to be, let's be honest, I would say playing for Tennessee in any sport is got to have so much pressure on it because we are all about winning.
Yeah.
And so if they're gonna excuse me, if they're gonna do the studies, hit the books, and they're going to practice and play, then they don't have time to be out, delivering pizzas or whatever kids do these, to make money these days. It's just not there. So with what time they have, and Terry's really good about being aware of also their schedule, because we've had meetings where they say, hey, I'd like to, because when you support them with your level of support, let's say you're a corporate sponsor, you do get some benefits, some marketing benefits
Yeah,
of that.
absolutely.
But that also has to run in line. Like, you don't get to just like pull a kid out of a game.
Right.
Like
Right.
you have to work within that schedule, and but they're very good with that. So it's awesome. I appreciate you. Like I said, you get us involved in a lot of stuff. It's one of the things I like about you is because you're a local business owner, and yeah, making a living's important. But being a local business owner, you're also very involved in the community. And one of the things that you had done for many years was the Real Men Wear Pink campaign.
Yeah.
And I know that was a big deal. I'd love for you to kind of touch on that, because I know currently you're not running one, correct?
I'm not, but I am. I have agreed this year to come along and co-chair and help on the back end.
Okay.
Again this year. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. So for people who don't know what Real Men Wear Pink, it'd be almost hard to think that people don't know, but there may be.
there's a lot that don't.
There's a lot that don't. So what is Real Men Wear Pink? And just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Real Men Wear Pink was a program designed by the American Cancer Society to help get men involved in fundraising for around Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There's a huge increase of breast cancer in men, but at the end of the day, we make a lot of to-dos in October, and everybody talks about breast cancer awareness. So they wanted to find a way to get men involved in that. And so Real Men Wear Pink was the campaign they came up with. It was launched here in Knoxville about 8 years ago. Leah Bradley was one of the leaders of that charge. And so what we do is we get individuals from the community who go out to be ambassadors and raise money for American Cancer Society through these campaigns. It can last several months or a month. So normally campaign kickoff, you can kind of start raising money into June area and then go until the end of October. But I got to tell you, when I was first approached about this, I'm like, breast cancer really hasn't affected my family. It's not really been a thing. And I'll never forget, Leah told me, she said, yeah, but we're the American Cancer Society. So even though the sounding board we're using is breast cancer awareness, this is for all cancer. This is money for research, cure, and support for all cancer and cancer patients. And that's when it hit me, right? Because my wife is a beautiful, fair-skinned redhead. Every time she goes to the dermatologist, I swear she comes back looking like Frankenstein. I have, my father had skin cancer, recently had throat cancer. Listen, there is nobody that you can talk to today that cancer has not affected their life.
In one way, shape, or form.
It's impossible. And so at that point in time, again, I look at things, how can I help and leave this world a better place? How can I help prepare for my kids? So my youngest daughter, like her mom, fair skinned redhead. So she's going to deal with some of these issues as well. So
Right.
we talk a lot about breast cancer, but the number one cancer in the world is skin cancer. Number one. And so, what can we do? What can we do to help? And so, I got on board with Real Men Wear Pink. And as most people that know me, I don't have a problem with getting outside of the box. I like doing things a little different, and I got a little crazy. And uh, just went out to try to raise as much money as I could. And I feel like we did pretty good.
Yeah, I think you did very well. Any idea? How many years did you do the campaign?
So I was in 7 years.
7 years.
Yep. So we did 7 years in a row.
Um, and in those 7 years, can you estimate about how much money you helped raise?
Yeah, a little over $250,000.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. And and you were able to do that, and then there were other people, almost like competition.
Oh yeah.
A lot of competition. Other men also doing their campaigns.
Yeah.
So if you raised $250,000, and let's say they also raised, that's a ton of money
Yeah.
that the American Cancer Society was able to benefit from, and hopefully come up with some, you know things to help people
Yeah.
when they're dealing with, cancer. And helping people with cancer is not just about not just a cure, but it's also about like how to live with it. How to make those adjustments. So a lot of fun campaigns. I think one of the things that will always stick in my head is the pink ribbon.
Yeah.
Um, that was like shaved into your head, wasn't it, or
Yeah.
dyed? It was just
It,
like
it was
right
shaved and
in your
colored.
side of your head.
Yeah.
And that definitely made a splash. That definitely got some attention.
It did. And I will tell you, the conversations that I had with people based on doing that, um, it, and even now, I get emotional about it because I'd be standing in the middle of anywhere. I was at Shoney's, I was in Charlotte Airport, I was anywhere I went. Somebody, because again, cancer has touched everybody.
Yeah.
And I would literally be having conversations and bawling in the middle of all these places with whoever was sharing their story. And so to me, again, I'm all about people. We're like my business. We're about relationships. I want to leave the world in a better place than the way I found it, and the only way I can do that is to be an active participant in doing that. And as I mentioned, I'm not running as an actual candidate this year. Last year was difficult, so COVID kind of wiped out American Cancer Society as well as Susan B. Komen. So we no longer have a local office here for American Cancer Society, but we do have local representation now. So after COVID, some things changed. Last year was really tough. ACS is now, they've gotten things straightened out. We've got a couple of great representatives here this year, and they have asked me if I will kind of help chair or co-chair this committee for this year. And I agreed. I don't know where the time's going to come, but again, it's one of those things that I'm passionate about. So if you're a strong community member and cancer has affected you, look, you need to get in touch with me. I need some men that are willing to go out and be strong and be proud and go raise some money.
And I think that I try to tell people we're the volunteer. We're the volunteers.
Right.
Like we're and it's stuff like that I think is at the heart of it. It's not just about watching sports. It's not just about always going hiking or whatever. Living in East Tennessee is also about helping other people.
Yeah.
And that's just part of what we do. And so that's awesome. And again, it's one of the things that I appreciate a lot about you, because I also know you're also involved in Rotary and all these other things, along with raising a family and running a business. and there are only 24 hours in a day.
Are
So
you sure?
there are, all right, man. I have
My
checked
my body
multiple times.
feels like there's a few more than that, but
So let's talk about some questions I like to hit on with all my guests because I'm always curious what they're what they like. Um, what are some of your favorite parts about living in East Tennessee?
well, so I grew up in Central Illinois as a kid, and my whole life I have had family who lived in Fort Myers area in Florida. And so my whole entire goal, my whole entire life was I'm moving to Florida because I don't like this cold. I don't like this snow. I want out. And I made that dream a reality. I did. I was 20 years old, I think. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 21. I finally had enough. I had a job and had enough to be able to do it. And so I moved to Fort Myers, Florida. Um, and was there for quite a few years. And I had a job that I changed careers, took this job at a telecommunications company. They told me the furthest south I could live was North Carolina. And I'm like, I love Florida. I don't want to leave. I had a house, my first house, and and so, but they paid for it, so I moved. Ended up in the Charlotte area,
Okay.
and then from there I made the transition to here. And the one thing I love the most is that we have mild winters, which is a key for me,
Yeah.
but really just the climate and the atmosphere of what we have to offer. We have the mountains, obviously. We've got the lakes. There's so much that we can do outdoors. The lifestyle here, but the people is just it's amazing, right? I mean,
Lots of good people.
as you mentioned, we're the volunteer state,
Yeah.
and just the heart really of our community is really strong. I know that a lot of things get in the way and create some dissension and division, but when you really get down to it, the heart of the community here in the Farragut area in East Tennessee in general is it's amazing.
It is. It is. What's one of your favorite places to go eat? Like if somebody were to, hey, I'm new to town. I wanna eat somewhere nice. What's or just good. I just want good food.
You
What
know,
what's some of your
the list can go on. I'm so Seasons Innovative Bar and Grill is one of my favorite.
good
Chef
stuff?
Duran over there in Shea, they're great people. Love them. I'm a meat eater, man. So I couldn't leave out Connors. I mean, you can't beat the bisque.
No. Oh no, that's some good stuff.
And the homemade ice cream. So the neat thing about them is they have a location in Fort Myers as well.
Oh really?
Yeah, I found that out. My wedding anniversary is in December 28th, and we go visit my father in Florida every year over Christmas, and so we celebrate our anniversary in Florida every year. And I'm like, man, my wife was joking with me because when I have vendors and stuff come in, we'll go to Connors for lunch. And she's like, I don't ever get to go there. So I made it a point for our anniversary. I wanted to take her to Connors, and lo and behold, they had one in Fort Myers.
And I assume it was just as good.
It was just as good.
Yeah, because Connors never disappoints.
They don't.
So yeah, no, we send we have sent quite a few people to Connors. I will say now you better get there early.
Yeah.
Or have some sort of reservation or
Yeah.
call ahead seatings. Awesome. Well, hey, I wanted to take a few minutes talk about some things that are coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, because the Farragut area definitely has some things on the horizon. One of those is the July 4th parade. So if you've never been to the Farragut July 4th parade, man, it is an event you want to see. Bring the family. Kids love it. It starts at the high school, goes all the way down to the Ingles. They do block off the road, so you want to make sure you don't, make plans at the wrong time.
Right.
But people put out their chairs, and they love to watch. It's a great event. We used to be. You'll probably be in it,
We will. Yep.
because you normally are. And Terry Joe and I have had a float in the parade for quite a few years, but have decided now that since we're on Kingston Pike, the one thing we couldn't do is we just couldn't connect with some of our people. Like we would see them as we're walking through and we'd wave, like, oh, hey, hi. But I said, hey, why don't we just take this as an opportunity to host something at our office and everybody could watch it. Well, last year we had a great time. Yeah. So we're going to do it again this year. So if you're interested in possibly hanging out at our place to watch the parade, let us know. And we're going to be talking more and more about that as we get there. Also, something that's in the works. This has not been fully approved yet, so you're hearing it here first. Is Shop Farragut is working with the town of Farragut to do a summer sidewalk sale during tax-free weekend. This will be a first. If it goes well, it will most likely be an annual event. As anybody knows, the town of Farragut has rules about stuff. So to be able to do this, they have had to be very strategic. And again, it's not fully done yet, but that'll be tax-free weekend is Friday, July 26th to Sunday, July 28th. So if you're going to be out shopping for tax-free weekend, you're going to want to hit the Farragut area. It should be a lot of fun. Another thing we have coming up, and this is one that a lot of people love, and that is Dog Days. And that's where they do Doc Dogs. They do it out here in the Village Green Shopping Center. Doc Dogs, if you've never seen it, is awesome. Basically, it's the big pool. The person, throws the toy or ball or whatever, and the dogs just go flying into the water. It's a great event for the family again as well.
Hey, did you know that is now an event at Westminster? And the event here is one of the qualifiers along the road to getting your dog for dock jumping or
I did not know that.
Yeah. So I found that out from my guest this past weekend.
So we're officially like on the route. Like to get to there, you need to go here.
We are one of the qualifiers. That's to
awesome.
Be able to get into the next level, to be able to participate in dock diving for your dogs at Westminster.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So also along with that, if you're a small business or any business and you'd like to maybe have a booth or something at Dog Days, just get with Shop Farragut and Steve over there will get you set up because it's a great way to meet people. Another thing that's coming, and this will be a lot of fun. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've ever actually made it to any of these events. All right, but Farragut does, and I hate to say that because I love music. Summer concert series that Farragut puts on at Founders Park is going to be kicking off June 20th, which is a Thursday. So Bluegrass Summer Solstice, that's a hard one to say. Bluegrass Summer Solstice Concert. That's going to be the kickoff for it. Then on July 26th, which is a Friday, they're going to have Party in the Park. And then August 17th, which is a Saturday, they're going to have the Lawn Chair Concert. I know these are great events because I've driven by while there were people there. And I've been thinking, man, I should have made it to that. So I'm planning on making it to at least one or two of these this year. But that's live music, food trucks, and more. So again, that's at Founders Park, which is by the library on Campbell Station, which is a beautiful park. Probably one of my non-athletic parks that we have. Yeah. It's just a pretty park. Yeah. So those are some great events we have coming up here. It's one of the benefits of living in or around Farragut because they're open to pretty much anybody. Yeah. So pretty awesome. Well, man, I think this has been a great show. Yeah. I knew it would be. I knew it would be. I mean, when you bring an experienced radio host onto the show, I figured it would be good. But I appreciate you making time and sharing your knowledge, and I appreciate your service in our community. And obviously, if there's anything I could ever do, which if anything I could ever do to help, you just reach out. And obviously, whenever my internet's slow.
You're going to call me. That's all right. Well,
um, so yeah. Is there any final words before we sign off?
man, I just thank you again so much for allowing me to be here. And I will just say this. I'm going to say one tidbit, and that is if you're interested in any type of security services, just make sure you do your research because a lot of these companies make it look really good on the front side, and it's I'm giving you everything for free, and then you're locked into a long-term contract. It's real simple, right? If I'm a business and I give everything away for free, how long am I going to be in business? There's got to be a catch.
Well,
So
well, we've seen a couple companies come and go
we have,
because they hit the ground running network real hard,
yeah.
and then they're gone. Typically, if it's free, it's not good, and if it's cheap, it's not. It's expensive in the long run. So you pay for it somewhere.
In the words of my friend Eric Glasgow, if the product is free, then you are the product.
So hey, what if somebody was like, hey, you know what? I don't want to talk to the competition. I want to talk to his security. What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Easiest way, you can call us 865-474-9495. Visit us online, hissecurity.com. Or better yet, just walk in the front door. We're at 11426 Kingston Pike, right here in Farragut. You can't miss us.
Right across from Village Green Shopping Center.
Right across from Village Green. We're right between Farragut Pharmacy and Prestige Cleaners. So
Awesome, good deal, man. I appreciate you.
thanks for
And
having me.
that's another episode in the books. Signing off.